She's got her halo and wings hidden under his eyes, but she's an angel for show. She just can't stop telling lies.
Hey, what's up? This is Alecsander with my plot analysis and discussion of Pacific Rim. It's going to be a lot of spoilers, so if you don't want that, then this is a spoiler alert. For those of you who have seen Pacific Rim, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say the story isn't, I don't want to say generic, but it isn't original. And while I do applaud it for the amazing amount of effort that was put into the technicalities behind the script, it is very hard to analyze the thought and plot behind a screenplay in a film when it's very simple. For instance, one of the things I'll typically look for is the contrast between the opening and the final image in films. And usually they're opposites in some metaphorical or physical or some spiritual way. But in this film, the opening image was the kaiju destroy San Francisco and then Manila and then most of the world. And then the final image are Raleigh, Becket, and Mako Mori are in the Pacific after they had just destroyed the rest of the kaiju and are now living in a world free of the kaiju. And the contrast between the opening and the final image there is simply the kaiju entered and then left. It's very simple. It's compared to other films, that is. If you pause the video and look down in the description, you'll find a full Blake Snyder style beat sheet on Pacific Rim that I made, that I filled out while I was in the theater watching Pacific Rim on Friday night. I have a notebook that I take into the theater with me that I fill out. There's a little template right here, and I take it into the movies with me. But there was one thing after I filled out the beat sheet for Pacific Rim, and I couldn't figure it out. There were a few different things that were said that could have qualified as a theme, that met the criteria, but really only one stood out, and that was, this of course is paraphrased for those of you who remember and have seen the movie, but the line is, "An act of God can't be fought," and that's said by Raleigh Becket right before his brother Yancey dies. Is that his name? And I was thinking, how does that tie to the whole entire film? And I mean, how does that hold true? Because usually, according to the Save the Cat book by Blake Snyder, the themes are usually proved true by the end of the movie, and they're usually tested throughout the whole entire movie. And so I really thought about this, and so I took a look at the line, "An act of God couldn't be fought." So I was thinking how it applied to the movie, and I was just like, why not look at Charlie Day's character, Dr. Newton Geisler? I think that's his name. And yeah, so many acts of God saved his life throughout the film. First off, when he did the neural handshake with the secondary kaiju brain, that was an act of God. When that should have killed him. And then that led to a chain of events that led him to save the world, when you think about it, when you think about a big picture. And then later on, when the kaiju searched underground for him but couldn't find him, and it was inches away from his face, that also was an act of God. Which also, I want to give props to the director. I have trouble pronouncing his name for some reason. Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, he usually directs horror movies, but yeah, that scene with Charlie Day felt very horror movie-esque to me. And the whole scene with the kaiju baby, especially when Hannibal Chow was eaten, instead of Dr. Newt, all of that was an act of God. And then I was trying to think of how, because obviously that was just in the subplots, so how does this directly apply to the movie? So I thought about it, and Raleigh, Becket, and Mako Mori, they could be perceived as an act of God. Them being co-pilots of Gypsy Danger is an act of God. Because when you think about it, fate brought them together, and they saved the world. And there were so many obstacles that were in the way of them being co-pilots, like Chuck Hansen and Marshall, what was his name? Marshall Stacker Pentecost. It's a weird name. And then of course Mori's triggering memories when she did the neural handshake. And yeah, and those were all forms of the act of God being fought. And in the end, those proved to be true, that the act of God couldn't be fought. This movie is a lot deeper than it seems on the surface level when you think about it, but obviously a lot of that is perceived, and when you rate things, you have to take into accountability things such as the screenwriting, the plot, the dialogue, the acting. The dialogue was mediocre. The acting, I would say that was mediocre, but I was just blown away by Charlie Day. He did an outstanding job. He totally stole the movie from me. And then the plot was very simple. So if I had to rate this movie, I'd have to give it a 7.5. But it is very, very smart. And there was an amazing amount of effort put in by all the cast and crew. It's not your typical summer blockbuster where everything just blows up and nobody cares. You know? They do care in this one. I want to give special thanks to a fellow film critic here on YouTube. His name's Josh, username BluMovieMania. You can find his link down there in the description. Also down there in the description you could find a full Blake Snyder style beat sheet of Pacific Rim and a link to my partner in CigaretteBurnReviews review on Pacific Rim, which he will be uploading shortly after mine. Yeah. And also, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, rate, subscribe, unlike, share, whatever. I don't care. You already watched the whole thing. Yeah.